Okay, welcome back to another Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade video, and today we are going to be doing a character guide or a build guide for Yaga. Yaga is one of the best buffers in the game, so I want to talk about what skills you should be prioritizing for him, what recollections are the best to run on him, what teams he's going to fit on, and so on and so forth. Now, this is a video that has been highly requested by people, or just in general, like people have been asking me to make character guide videos for all the characters in the game, and I don't know if I necessarily need to do that. The reason being, I feel like a lot of people at this point in the game already know how to, build Yaga or use Yaga, but just in case, this is like for the newer players, obviously, to help them out a little bit. So if you guys want to see a specific character next, maybe you want to see Inumaki or Kaido, or maybe you want to see the, bottom of the tier list characters like Todo or Maki or whatever, let me know down in the comments. Go down there right now. Let me know which character you guys want a build guide for next, and whichever comment with a character name gets the most likes will be the one I do next. So if you guys end up all choosing Maki, the SSR one, I will do a build guide for her next and try to show you the best way to maximize her potential and make her actually useful. So with that said, let's get into this guide for Yaga, who once again is one of the best support characters in the game. So starting with materials, your main materials that you're going to be farming out are going to be the transforming tableware and the gilded adornment. So make sure you farm out a bunch of these if you do or are working on trying to get him to grade 9. Eventually we are going to get more grades. Actually, on December 3rd, which is coming up here very soon, we're going to be getting another grade, and you're going to be able to level up your characters even further with the release of the chapter 10 of the story. So that's definitely something to look forward to. So if people just got their characters maxed out, well, they're not maxed out anymore. You're going to have to upgrade them again. As for skills on Yaga, I do actually agree with this, and just shout out to the community Discord for making this chart. They do make one for every character. I like to go through it and use the format because I probably can't make a format that looks better than this. This is really nice, but I do say whether I agree or not with the skills in every character guide video, and I tell you like if they're right or wrong, because sometimes like it's not that they're necessarily wrong, but I don't think what they've chosen is 100% accurate. So sometimes I tell you if it's right or wrong, but the skills here are perfectly right. So the first skill you want to upgrade, or your number one priority for upgrading, is going to be your skill 2. His skill 2 is the best buff skill in game, hands down, because it buffs your Jujutsu and Taijutsu damage of all allies for 4 turns, and it can stack. The fact that it can stack is what makes it really, really broken. So this is your number one priority, hands down. Nothing else matters. Upgrade this skill right here. And then if we're going to upgrade any other skills, it should be your ultimate next, because you can use your ultimate right before a ultimate turn with another character and debuff the enemy on top of all the buffs you've already given the turns previously to that, and just maximize your damage. So these 2 skills right here are your top 2 skills to upgrade. Then you can do your skill 3 third. Sometimes you use this, but hopefully not really. And then last but not least, you can upgrade your skill 1. He's never going to do the most damage. This is not a damage character, so you don't need to worry about upgrading his skill 1. You also don't need to worry about damage recollection. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the memories or recollections. We have the gacha ones on the left hand side and the free to play ones on the right hand side. Now, most of these I do agree with, more or less. We're going to go through them one by one. I'm going to explain what they do and explain which one of these out of all of these is the best to run on Yaga. So starting with Unity from top to bottom. This one is insanely good, and it has a pre-adjustment and post-adjustment. Right now on global, we are in the pre-adjustment. So when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, it increases all allies' ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 30% for 2 turns. That is really good to help out your allies who are high damage intensive characters to get their ultimate quicker. And then if you limit break it to level 1, if the selected enemy is in break status when attacking, fills own ultimate gauge by 200. At limit break level 3, that charge rate goes from 30% to 35%. Post adjustment, these don't change, but then your limit broken effect does a little bit. So if the selected enemy is in break status when attacking, fills own ultimate skill gauge by 200 one time. The big difference is that this one doesn't have a limit, this one does, so it kind of nerfs this overall recollection a little bit, but still nonetheless, I would say just in general, this is tied for the number 1 recollection I would actually put on Yaga. There is another one that I would say is equally as good, and I will show you guys that here at the end of the recollection. So next up, we have Mutual Trust. This is another good option. It's a highly rated recollection by all players, towards the top of the tier list for recollections, right? When command skill is activated, decreases all allies damage received by 30% for 1 turn. This might not seem that important right now on global, but we are about to get, whenever we get Illusory Tower, some very hard content that actually might require this, so this is actually pretty decent. And then at limit break level 1, at the start of the battle, recovers all allies cursed energy by 10, which once again can be very useful, giving extra cursed energy to your allies who are attackers so they can use their skill 3s more often and stuff like that if you need them to. Next up, we have a Wish from the Past, another very good recollection towards the top of the investment tier list I just did for recollections recently. When command skill or ultimate skill is activated, recovers all allies HP by 30%. Recovering HP by 30% is very good, and you can do this any turn you want, which is very solid, perfect for a supporter type character to put a support type recollection on him like this. And then at limit break level 1, at the start of battle, decreases all allies damage received by 10% for 4 turns. That is still going to just help your supporters survive so that they can continue to support, as well as just, help everybody in the battle survive. So there's really no downside to that. So having healing and extra defense, I think, is a pretty solid recollection to put on a support. So I definitely agree with that one. And last but not least, for the gotcha recollections, we have the Hot Pot Party. So the Hot Pot Party, when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, recovers own cursed energy by 15. This is good because it's going to allow him, if you don't have Kaido on the team, to use his skill 2 more consistently. This is actually a very good one for him. And then at the start of the turn, if own HP is 40% or below, decreases own damage received by 40% for 2 turns. This one's okay. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the stipulation you have to be below 40% HP, but decreasing damage received by 50% is a massive amount. So if you were ever worried about your support dying, this might be the one you want to put on him. He just does need to survive, obviously, without getting one shot. That's the biggest problem, because in the later stages of the game, characters can get one shot very easily. So this one's kind of like a hit or miss. It could be really good or really bad, just depending. So this one's definitely an option as far as recollections go, but maybe not the best in my opinion. Moving on to the free-to-play recollections. This one you get from a Formidable Foe battle in excellent shape. And so when command skill is activated, fills own ultimate skill gauge by 260. If you upgrade it to limit break 3, it gets 360 ultimate skill gauge, which is really good, 4-turn cooldown. But the real reason you are equipping this recollection is not for the ultimate gauge, because we don't really care about that much on Yaga. You would be equipping it for this. At the start of each wave, decreases own taijutsu damage received by 25% for 3 turns, meaning it is stackable if you were to clear a wave in 1 turn, which is sometimes hard to do, but possible. So that means on the second wave, you would have 50% damage reduction of taijutsu damage. Now, it's not the greatest right here. There's just really not a ton of great defensive support free-to-play recollections. There's good attack recollections that are free-to-play, but it'll work. It's okay. It's not my favorite option, to be honest with you guys, so I probably wouldn't run this. So if you have any of the others, I'd probably run those first. If this blocked jujutsu damage as well, I'd say absolutely this recollection is broken, but because it doesn't, I think that leaves a little bit to be desired. And then last but not least, for the free-to-play recollections, we have Death by Wasp, and this one, I have said it a couple of times in a couple of videos, is just in general the best SR recollection there is. So, and it's free-to-play. When command skill or ultimate skill is activated, it increases all damage dealt by 10% for allies, or if you upgrade it to limit break 3, 15% for allies for 2 turns, which is insane. And then additionally, at limit break level 1, at the start of the turn, if own HP is 50% or below, recovers your own cursed energy by 20, which once again helps Yaga, because if he is below 50% HP and he recovers 20 cursed energy, he might be able to use his skill 2 one more time when he otherwise wouldn't. And last but not least, there one more recollection that was not on the list that I think is tied with Unity from top to bottom as the best recollection to put on Yaga. And that recollection is going to be Respite for Adults or Rest for Adults, whatever you want to call it, right? And so this recollection is newer, which is why I think it was not out on the original guide right here, because I believe this guide was out before the memory or recollection was in the game. But if this was in the game, I'm pretty sure it would have been on that list because it's insanely good as far as support recollections go, one of the best in the game. So when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, recovers own HP by 25% and then fills own ultimate skill gauge by 200. Like, that's really good, right? But that's not the main reason we're running it again. But the healing we'll take healing on the character, give him his ultimate so he can ult with your attacker ally whenever you need to, right? That's good. 5-turn cooldown, decent. But the real reason you want to run this recollection, unlocked at limit break level 1. At the start of the 4th turn from the start of the battle, increases all allies damage dealt by 25% for 3 turns. So not only are you using a buffer character like Yaga to buff the crap out of your allies, you can also use this recollection, which starting from the 4th turn for 3 turns, it's going to increase your allies damage even more. And typically starting from the 4th through the 6th turn, you'll have an ultimate somewhere in there. So this is actually insanely good. Like, one of the best recollections you can run on Yaga, because Yaga is of course a damage buffer, so running a damage buffer recollection on him just makes way too much sense. So genuinely, Rest for Adults and Unity from top to bottom, the top 2 picks in my opinion for Yaga if you're thinking about running recollections on him. Now, if you had to choose a free-to-play recollection and you don't have any of the summonable ones, I would personally go for Death by Wasp. I think it's a little bit better to buff damage than it is to go for extra defense. But like I said, maybe in those later stages when Illusory Tower comes out, hopefully next month or the month after, depending. It should be soon. They have said soon. Maybe the defensive ones will be a little bit more useful. But right now, just in general, I think the damage ones are the best. Moving on to the breakdown. So what does Yaga do just in general? What makes him so good? We've already kind of covered this, but just to go over the bullet points. Increases allies Jujutsu and Taijutsu damage with buff skill 2. We know that. Very good. The best skill he has. Increases enemy damage received with ultimate skill debuff. Do this right before the your allies ultimate skill, and then that will help. Top tier support that is used in almost all team comps. Just in general. So we have 2 suggested teams over here. Like, literally, you could switch out any of these units for any units in the game. Use Yaga on any team, even with the worst units, and he'll make the worst units look good. Yaga is like the cheat code to the game. Literally run him on any team you want. Like, I don't even need to show you teams. Put him on any team. He is good. He is that good. For anyone new to the game, this is like one of your #1 investment characters. Like, he should be up there, like really high on the list. He's very good. Okay, he does not do much damage by himself though. Keep that in mind. We did touch on that already. He's just literally an insane buffer. And then we did say this already. Try to use his ultimate to debuff the enemy before allies damage ultimate. And then last but not least, he works best in manual mode. That is true right now on global. I want to clarify this. He does work best on manual mode on global, but when we get auto mode upgraded, which they have said they're working on, and they're going to get it out ASAP, the devs have, or at least that's what the lead moderator of the Discord server has heard from the devs and communicated to us, if that makes sense. So auto mode is coming eventually. That's going to be fixed to where Yaga will actually use his buff skill. But the way auto mode is right now on global is he just uses his strongest damage skill, which is usually his skill 3 or skill 1, and so it doesn't really help to run this guy on auto mode. So he's actually poopy on auto mode right now on global, but eventually he'll be good on auto mode. So for now, this is true, but eventually that will not be true, depending on when you watch this video. Maybe you're watching it a year down the line or whatnot, but hopefully this helped you guys. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace.